Hello, everybody. I know we're getting started here. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Looks like we're going to have a packed house, so we'll give it a couple minutes here and let everybody get in. We're about halfway there right now, everybody, so appreciate your patience. I think our cap is 500, so we're getting close to that right now. I did hear that we might already be full on that, so we'll let people get in here. And then I'll talk about, for those that were unable to make it this evening, how we are recording this and we'll be able to report that out as well. So as people are coming in, thank you guys for joining us tonight. Do appreciate it. So we'll wait about 2 more minutes here, about 7:35, we'll get started. I see some of you are already learning how to use the question and answer feature. So if you do look at the bottom of the webinar, you'll see a Q&A part where you can post some questions to us and we'll try to respond to those. I would recommend that if there's specific questions and things like that, hold them till the end because hopefully this presentation will help answer a lot of those questions already for you. We've got about 1 more minute and then we will get started. All right, I think we'll get started here. First of all, wanted to thank everybody for joining us here tonight. Before we get into the meat of this, you know, just on a personal level, I'm sad that I'm not seeing you guys in person. I'm sad that we can't be in this together. So in the same platform in the gym with a parent meeting type thing or something, because I do miss seeing everybody. People every year always ask me how I enjoy my summers, and I tell them I enjoy it for about 2 weeks. But the reality is I miss the kids. I miss seeing them here on campus. And I think we're all in that same boat. And for me, I think a little personal note, you know, my daughter's gonna be a freshman this year here. So it's different and it's hitting us all in different ways. So I appreciate everybody's understanding and flexibility during these times. And I think we're gonna get through this in a really good way, but also a way that's different than we've ever done it before. So hopefully tonight and what I'm about to share with you helps with that, and helps answer some of those questions. And obviously there will be questions afterwards as well. We will be recording this, and we will be emailing this out to all of our families as well. So if you have any friends or things like that that were unable to get on tonight, please let them know that we will be sending this out to everybody. We will also take our questions and answers and do a little bit of an FAQ that we can send out as well. So hopefully that stuff helps. So let's get going with sharing of the screen. Also, we have Heather Godfrey, who is our assistant principal of instruction, on with us. She's going to help with the answering of the questions as we go through this process. So here we go. Heather, can you see my screen? We good? Okay, cool, perfect. So it's the Westlake High School Family Webinar. Welcome. Hope you guys, again, enjoy this, and hopefully it does answer some questions for you. First and foremost, some norms, some meeting norms that we talk about now. Please wait until the end to post questions. I think, again, this presentation will help answer a lot of the questions we've already received and that we are anticipating. So hopefully that will help there. Also, if you have any other questions or concerns, don't hesitate to email me directly. I've been trying to respond to a lot of emails and questions and things that come up because I do know that this is unprecedented times for all of us. So we are here to communicate and help by far. So kind of our agenda, there's a lot that we're going to go through tonight, some more than others, and there's probably some on this screen right now that a lot of people are more interested in maybe than others. But we will be talking about all these things. And now as we go through this, hopefully it gives you a comprehensive look at where we are now and where we're planning on for the future as well. So obviously current health orders. So when we look at our health orders, we're looking at health orders from California Department of Public Health as well as Ventura County Public Health. So those are the really two big agencies that we look at and make those decisions as a district where we're going. Currently, with all the public health orders, our students will be engaging in remote learning to start the school year. So come Wednesday, August 19th, all students will be engaging with school and with our teachers through that remote learning process to start the year. So starting remote. So as we start remote here, I do want everybody to understand that what we are talking about in terms of remote learning is not what we did in the spring. What we did in the spring was emergency distance learning. And so it is very, very different. And I do know that there are concerns that, okay, if we're doing remote, it's what we did in the spring, and it's really not. And some of these things, this was communicated out if it's too small to read in the district communication last night as well. But it's a really good chart about the differences between emergency distance learning last spring and what we're going to be doing this fall. It talks about instructional delivery. In particular, our teachers will be having live virtual instruction each day with our students. Attendance or student schedules, they're going to receive their link from their teachers, and we will be doing minutes throughout the whole day, and there will be expectations that students are engaging in that instruction and learning throughout the day, regardless of the cohort and things like that. Again, the cohort sizes, we'll get into that a little bit more later on about why that's important and what that will allow us to do in the future. Students will be expected to attend daily. As parents, if your student is unable to attend, we will need to call in to our school just like normal so that we can report those absences as well. Because if students aren't attending, then we will be marking absences and doing those types of things. So teachers will help with that communication as well. But again, for parents, really important that if your child's ill or they're unable to attend a class that day, even if it's remote, that you are calling in that absence through our normal process. Some other things that are coming up, grading, in the spring, we did the do no harm grading policy. Starting our remote here in the fall, we are returning to that traditional grading practices, the things that we're always used to, which includes the grades can go up and down, assignments being submitted, assessments as well, and all those types of things. So the teachers will review that information for their particular class as they normally do. And once again, those grades will be kept up to date, and you can look at those things using Q Connect as well. I'm going to talk about our learning management system. So our learning management system in the spring was a lot of different things, and depending on your grade level and your class for that matter, it could have been really, really different. So one of the big things that we realized as a district is that we needed to have a consistent learning management system that learning management system will kind of be like a one-stop shop where students can go to have access to all of their classes and the information related to their classes. And that is called Canvas. So there will be information coming out about how that works, what it will look like, and how not only students can interact, but parents as well. So again, the accessibility, the organization and communication that's embedded within that platform, we think will be very, very successful. And it's a platform that is used widely. So it's not just something that we have to rely on our own. So we are excited about that. Excuse me, co-curricular opportunities. We will be continuing with those co-curricular opportunities. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a couple slides down. Social emotional learning, obviously this time that hit us on Friday, March 13th, and kind of changed education as we know it, and changed our world for that matter as we know it. We realized that the social emotional impacts that has made on our students is huge. And so the social emotional learning component that'll take place in our classes with our teachers is really, really important. In addition to that component of the social emotional in the classroom, also our counselors and staff. There's different resources and supports that we'll have in place as well to help families and students transition back to our school and really make sure that from a social emotional lens, students are good and ready to partake on this learning environment. Staff professional learning. So we have been starting comprehensive training of our staff. Some staff actually started it throughout the summer, and more we jumped on board at the start of August here, really regarding our learning management system of Canvas, virtual instructional engagement strategies to make sure that we are able to simulate the classroom environment as much as possible in a virtual and remote manner. Obviously, we talked about the social emotional learning part, and then really looking at some of our students through different lenses, such as our students with an IEP, our 504 students, our English learners, and our GATE students as well. So we really want to make sure that we understand and support those student groups in particular as much as possible to give them the best experience possible. And the last part of it is our special education services. We did have very limited services in this range in the spring, and come the fall, we will be continuing with those in a full manner as we had done prior. So we will be communicating those out. IEP meetings will be held, special education services and goals, progress towards those goals will be monitored, and all those things. So case managers will be reaching out as well and starting the communication on that front. So I just wanted to take a few minutes and really show how, let me see. Hopefully, is that better? Hopefully, so people can see it more. Just the differences between what we were doing last spring and what we're going to be doing this fall. All right, so schedules. So that's the next thing. So this is probably the big one. So I'll slow down a little bit on this one in terms of schedules. Let me see one thing here. 1 second. Okay. So in terms of schedules, this is a sample of the high school schedule. So some of you may be looking at this in detail and saying, well, where's cohort B? I'm going to get to that on the next slide. So we'll talk about that. But in general, this is what a sample schedule looks like for our high school. What's going to happen is we're going to be rotating in the first quarter, and the first quarter essentially is from the start of school through the end of October. And we'll be rotating periods 1 through 3. So 1, 2, and 3 will take place during that first quarter and the third quarter. So the third quarter is essentially from the end of January till about the end of March, in that time frame. You can see that we'll have 65 minutes, a break, and then the next class is 65 minutes, and how that will go. And we'll talk about this a little bit more as well. Our athletics, co-curriculars, and clubs will take place at the end of the day. There is going to be a break between cohorts, and we're going to talk about the transition between remote and blended in a few minutes too, so that'll help understand why we're having some of these breaks in here. And then quarter 2 and quarter 4 right now, we're looking at going between periods 4, 5, and 6 for quarter 2 and quarter 4. So during each of those quarters, students will be participating in 3 periods or 3 of their classes during each of those quarters. Again, broken up over the course of the semester. So during one semester, they will receive instruction in all 6 of their classes. So if we look at this in a different form, just to kind of help understand what it's going to look like a little bit more. So during quarters 1 and 3, this is what a schedule may look like. So depending on if you're in cohort A and cohort B, you will notice that there is no difference here between blended or remote. So whether you're in a blended model or a remote model, the cohorts stay the same. And this is really important for us because this will allow us, when health orders allow, to pivot or transition to a blended model as seamlessly as possible. So we do believe that that is really important to be able to do that in order to have students back on campus when we are able. So when you look at this, if we look at cohort A, their first class will go from 8 to 9:05, and then their second class will go from 9:25 to 10:30. You'll notice also that the periods rotate. So the periods will rotate. So day 1 is 1 and 2, then we go to period 3 to start the next day, then period 1, and then 2, 3, so on and so forth. A couple slides from now, I'll show it to you in a better manner, I think, that might help make that a little bit clearer. And then cohort B, their class times will be going from 12 to 1:05, and then from 1:25 to 2:30. And that will take place, again, with the same rotation and the same model as I discussed with cohort A. Also within this time, we'll look at, what are students doing in the other part. So for example, if cohort A is in the morning like it is, then in the afternoon between 12 and 2:30, those cohort A students will be working on reinforcement activities from their period 1 and period 2 class, for example, in day 1. So even though you only see cohort A in class, whether it be live, virtual, remote, or on our campus when we're allowed, that means that cohort A is in that in-class part in the morning, but in the afternoon, they're expected to be working on those reinforcement activities and different assignments that the teachers will be given at that time. So the instruction for the day will be from that 8 all the way to 2:30 with the breaks in there that you see. And then cohort B will be vice versa. So they will be doing their reinforcement activities in the morning, and then they will have their live in-class instruction in the afternoon. So those reinforcement activities for cohort B could be from the prior day, and then they'll be working on those prior to starting the class on the second day. And then you'll notice at the bottom, our athletics, co-curriculars, and clubs, there is time for that at the end of the day there from 2:30 on. Obviously, once we are allowed to be in contact and have students back on campus, we will set out a schedule for our athletics and practice times and things like that, which coaches will communicate out, as well as our other co-curriculars and clubs and activities as well. So the folks in charge of those things will communicate out with those students during that time as well. Okay. All right. So that I talked about quite a bit because it kind of reinforced things. And then you can see with quarters 2 and quarter 4, same idea for cohorts A and B, except we're going periods 4 through 6 now instead of 1 through 3. So we feel that that's really important, again, so that when health orders allow us to have students back on campus, we can pivot as quickly and easily as possible without having any interruption in the instruction between a remote and a blended schedule as needed. Mrs. Godfrey, is there any big questions that you see in the Q&A regarding this part of it that I should address at this time?
No, I think a lot of your questions have been answered, and you may answer the rest as the night continues.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Also, Dr. Ricardo Ariza is on with us as well as a panelist. So thank you, Dr. Ariza. He is our assistant principal of attendance. So thank you for being here. So I told you that there was going to be another slide that kind of showed this rotating periods a little bit better. So hopefully you can see and kind of understand how this thing rotates. So you'll look at quarter 1 and you'll see it goes 1, 2, and then 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, so on and so forth down the line in terms of how that works. Quarter 2, again, is our periods 4 through 6. And then right now we're planning on quarter 3 to continue with that 1, 2, 3. And then quarter 4, 4, 5, 6. So again, the consistency with this schedule will really allow us to pivot and move as needed throughout the year without having any interruption in instruction. We have had some questions about why aren't we doing 3 periods a day and things like that? I can tell you that this process of planning and looking at these things really started basically the day after graduation of last year, if not even a little bit sooner. And we did look at approximately 85 iterations of schedules for high schools and any combination in between. And so really we felt that, again, the transition and the pivoting of this, that this allowed us to do, worked really, really well. We also felt that from a health and safety point of view of not only our students, but our staff, this really helped as well, allowing us to transition while maintaining that health and safety. And again, the health and safety has to be number one, and it always will be. So that's why we went through this model here. Some of the highlights, again, that we talk about when we're looking at these different models, it will allow us to have a small student to teacher ratio, because we're having a target of approximately 15 students in each cohort. So when you really look at that, and some folks may ask, well, why 15 students? Well, one of the things we have to plan for in our classroom when we do go back or go to blended learning is that we're able to maintain social distancing in our classroom. So when you look at the size of our classrooms, and we want to make sure that we have 6 feet social distance between our student desks as well as our students with our instructors, that 15 target number is the number that we're looking at in most of our classrooms. Some of them are a little bit more, some of them are a little bit less, but most of them we can fit that 15 really well. So that means that the total class size will be 30. In addition to the social distancing part of it, we really feel that the small student to teacher ratio will allow our teachers to interact with our students in a much more personal level like they do in the classroom, and will also allow our instructors to understand where students are coming into the class and adjust for their needs and where they are. Also, live virtual instruction will be taking place 5 days a week. So this will mirror the traditional classroom. So teachers will be instructing 4 students, irregardless of the model, 5 days a week for the class periods that they have. For our high schools, as you already saw, those are 2 65-minute instructional periods each day and 3 periods per quarter. Students will learn all annual required coursework. It'll cover the same materials per semester as they typically would. And one of the things our teachers have been doing a lot, by the way, really working hard to make sure that the learning environment that they're about to go into mirrors their traditional learning environment in terms of curriculum, in terms of instruction as much as possible. And so really the concepts, the standards, and information that they're learning will really mirror what they've been doing in the past. And I really have a ton of confidence in our instructors to be able to do that. Again, due to this COVID-19 cases and concerns, splitting that semester course load into quarters really does enhance the health and safety because it does reduce the number of contacts for students and staff. So again, that was a huge thing for us. As we go through any of these plans and we look at any of these things, the health and safety was really important for us. All 3, and then the 3 classes will meet more frequently. So the students will have an advantage of building a stronger base or stronger connection with their peers and teachers, and also will allow them to have greater emphasis on our social emotional during that time. So we do feel that those 3 classes will really work well for us. Talking about the cohorts a little bit. So all of our grade spans are having 2 cohorts. So whether it be elementary, middle, or high school, we do have consistency there, again, which we do feel is really important. So both Cohort A and Cohort B will receive live virtual instruction with their teacher. We talked about that a little bit. Again, we talked about how the cohorts are necessary to allow us to have a seamless transition between our blended and remote areas when we're able to do so. Again, special education services will be provided remotely when we do start in August. Again, daily attendance will be taken. And then independent and reinforcement activities will be provided outside of the cohort time. So that's what I was talking about in terms of our high school schedules and those times. So if you're in an AM or morning cohort or A cohort, then your reinforcement activities would be in the afternoon. If you're in a B cohort or afternoon cohort, then your reinforcement activities, independent work takes place in the morning time. Anything big coming up there, Heather, for me to address?
Yeah, so there's a little confusion about the days and having a day 6 and 7 on that original schedule. So there's been numerous questions on that. So if you want to maybe go back to that slide and explain that. And then questions on reinforcement activities and the timing of those, whether those are required to be on the exact timing that they're listed on the sheet.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you for those questions. So first of all, in terms of the rotation, so what this means is that in quarter 1, you're going to periods 1, 2, 3 in order, but since we're only doing 2 classes per day, right, then that means that our 3rd class has to roll into the next day. So therefore, when you look at it, you know, your first day will be periods 1 and 2, and then the next one is period 3, and then back to 1, and then 2 and 3, then 1 and 2. And that allows us to keep that 1, 2, 3 rotation over multiple days. So that's where that comes into. So for example, you know, your day 1 through 5 is 1 day, Monday through, or 1 week, Monday through Friday. So that means the following Monday, because we ended with period 1 on day 5, looking at quarter 1, we would start with period 2 and then go 2, 3, 1, 2. Then the next one would go 3, 1, 2, 3, as we go down that flow of classes. And we can actually map that out a little bit too and help communicate out to our families, so you can literally check off days by date and what periods your student should be going to. So we can assist with that as well. And then in terms of the reinforcement activities, so we talked about this schedule here, whether we're talking about periods 1 through 3 or 4 through 6. In terms of the reinforcement activities, if you're in the A cohort, for example, you will be in class in the morning, like we said, and then in the afternoon, you'll be doing your reinforcement activities. So reinforcement activities, we are planning on 60 to 75 minutes of reinforcement activities per period. So because this is individual time, students do have some flexibility, but they also need to be participating in those activities during that time, because some teachers may be assigning some collaboration work or some different things during that time. So they should plan in their day as a schedule to do it during those times. Again, to maintain not only their progress in the class, but to ensure that they get all that work done as well. So again, it is individual and independent work on that, but it would be a really good model to follow and recommended that students would follow those times for that reinforcement activity as well. All right. So talking about cohort assignments real quick. So first and foremost, I really want to thank all of our families and how many responses we got. We had, I want to say 97%, 98% of our total student population actually responded with their cohort options. So I really appreciate that. I know during the summer, sometimes it's hard with those things. But it really does help us know what our families wanted. So when we looked at all that data and all that information, a significant majority of our families did select the AM cohort, and specifically the blended AM cohort. So because of that, we did have to look at, okay, we have to balance these things out. And some folks have asked, you know, can seniors take priority or some of these different things? We must have a balanced cohort, not only total number of students in the A cohort and B cohort, but also we have to make sure that each grade level is even between the A cohort and the B cohort. And the reason for that is because, for example, an English 12 class, if we had all of our seniors in the morning cohort, then there was no way that we can balance a class of English 12, for example, so that I have 15 students in the morning and 15 students in the afternoon. So it's really important that when we balanced, not only did we balance total number of students in cohort A and cohort B, but also by grade level. So we did use the lottery system for that. We did have families that were involved in that and overseeing it and watching that process. We used a randomizer. Randomizer really helped to make sure that there was literally nobody picking and choosing. It was random numbers, and wherever it fell out in terms of that. I am confident and happy to say that we worked for about 8 hours yesterday on going through all that and making sure that we were balanced, and we were really, really confident about our schedule, about our balancing, and that this will allow us to create a really good master schedule that will allow students to get the classes that they need and want in all those things. So we're really, really happy about that. But prior to the lottery, there was communication sent out on Monday, August 3rd, asking families if they wanted to volunteer and switch to the PM cohort. We did have between 600 and 700 families across our district volunteer to move from the A to the B cohort. So obviously that helped us a ton. So I really, if you were any of those families that volunteered, I really appreciate that. It really did provide some flexibility for, I think, our families that didn't have the ability to have that option to change or volunteer to change. So we really did appreciate that. And then again, we did hold that lottery on Wednesday, August 5th, and it went really smooth. I think it was a good process, and it allowed us to really make sure that things are even and equal. We did look at siblings as well to make sure that siblings, not only at our school, but across the district, that we could match them up as they wanted or as they requested in those things as well. So we're happy with that process by far. So, and those cohort assignments should be coming out soon. It is an automatic upload into our system, so we should be able to communicate and get that information out to you soon as well. Reinforcement activities, assignments. Again, there's some questions on that. So during the time that students are not participating, like we've talked about, they will be participating in these reinforcement activities. Again, assignments, and it's times to really practice and strengthen those foundational skills and also solidify current learning. So a lot of students or parents have asked, you know, well, what about if we lost some engagement or we lost some knowledge between last spring to now, right? This is a great time where teachers will be able to help catch students up on that. I've also had families ask about, well, what happens when students are done with their periods 1 through 3 class in quarter 1 until they get to quarter 3. So these, again, reinforcement activities and assignments will really help students and give them the opportunity to catch up and really recall some of that information that they might have been doing in quarter 1 when they start in quarter 3. In addition, some of our teachers, have really looked at this as an opportunity to do a flipped classroom model. So if you haven't heard of a flipped classroom before, the flipped classroom model is where a teacher will post a video or recording, and then the students will watch that video recording, take notes, maybe do some assignments on that video. And then the next day when they meet with their students, that is a great opportunity where teachers and students can participate in collaboration activities, and Socratic seminars and different things like that as well, long-term projects, and really that discussion and that connection between teachers and students that makes the learning so much better for everybody. So we have had teachers that looked at that flipped classroom environment as well, that we think will work really well, especially in this remote environment. Last part there is for middle school students. So co-curriculars, so talking about co-curriculars, current health orders dictate that co-curriculars need to be meeting virtually. Have seen some things on Twitter that there might be some other direction on that coming down a little bit, but currently with our current Ventura County health orders, we haven't seen that yet. As if anything changes, again, we will be communicating that out through our activity directors, our coaches, and then obviously to our families as well. So when allowed, we will be able to transition to in-person meetings, again, following the health orders. It very well may look like some of the activities that we did during the summer, which is a pod type model, where during the summer, for example, one coach was assigned to 10 students, and then we could maintain that. Obviously, we did our health screenings, our temperature checks, and everything else. It really did work out well. And so whatever health orders dictate, we'll be going down that path. Again, director and coach will be reaching out and communicating on what these look like. I can tell you that, especially for our athletics and all of our co-curriculars for that matter, there is the expectation that even during this remote time, that coaches are in contact with our students through live virtual means and helping and supporting and having those class meetings even through our co-curriculars. And the reason that we feel that the coaches and those connections are so important is because we realize that students being connected to Westlake High School and a part of our campus a lot of times happens through these co-curriculars, whether it be athletics, whether it be our performing arts, whether it be our clubs or other programs. These are really the heart and soul a lot of times of that connection with our students, with the school, and connections with each other. So we do really understand the importance to keep these going long-term and the positive impacts it'll have on our kids. Any other big questions right now, Heather? Are we okay? Okay. Reopening phases. So when you look at our phases, and again, some people have asked when they looked at these phases, well, on what date are we transitioning to phase 2? And the answer is we don't know, right? It's really dependent on public health orders and where we are. So right now we're in phase 1. So when you look at phase 1 for the blending and teaching and learning model, phase 1 means we're meeting for 2 periods a day remotely with the AM and PM cohorts. If your child's in the blended and teaching learning model and we're able to move to phase 2, we kind of call this a soft opening. So what this allows us to do in phase 2 is students will come back to campus within their cohort model, and they'll come back to campus only during this phase 2, which is a very small time frame. It's actually a 6 school day cycle. They'll attend just one class. So for example, they would go to the period 1 class, but that class would last 150 minutes. That will allow, again, our students to be able to come back on campus, our teachers to be getting those connections with our students, as well as making sure that we have proper safety protocols on place in campus, including student flow, social distancing, and cleaning and disinfecting as well. And we would run that through 2 cycles. So what that means is students would come one day to just period 1, the next day to period 2, the following day to period 3, and then we repeat that for 1 more cycle. So that's where our 6 days comes from. And then after that 6-day phase, you know, everything's good and looking at how things are, and we're still able to by health orders, then we move to phase 3. Phase 3, again, that transition like we talked about being so important between blended and remote. So we are able to pivot between phase 1 and phase 3 seamlessly. So we would, again, mirror what we were doing in remote in phase 1, where students, but now would be coming onto campus 2 periods a day for their AM and their PM cohort. So again, just like they were doing in remote, however, they would be doing it on campus. And then when they go home or they're at home, that's when they would be still participating in those reinforcement activities as they were doing before. And then phase 4 is the one that we all wish we can get back to and get to. And that's where we go back to what we like to call our traditional schedules before. Kids would have 6 periods a day. We wouldn't have any cohorts. They would come here all day. We would have our normal class sizes, and we would do everything like we were before. And that's why, again, really the breaking up of the 3 periods. So periods 1 through 3 for quarter 1 and periods 4 through 6 for quarter 2. This does give us the option, if we're able to move to phase 4 by the start of the 2nd semester, that allows us that pivot point at 2nd semester. If we didn't break it up like that, then we wouldn't have that pivot point because students would be at different places during the year with their classes. So that's why when you're looking at these schedules and you wonder, why didn't they just lump them together? We broke it up to ensure that we do have an opportunity, if health orders allow, to get to that phase 4, which is, I think, what everybody desires at the semester, if we are able to do that. So that was really, really, again, an important part of this phasing process and schedule process as well, is looking for that ultimate hope that we're able to get to that phase 4. Are there any questions on that phasing, Heather? No? Okay. Canvas. So did talk about Canvas a little bit before, but for the 2021 school year, we will be utilizing the learning management system Canvas. Again, it offers students, teachers, and parents a singular, easy to use system. So as parents, I can tell you, you know, for me, I have three kids. I had an incoming freshman, I have a 3rd grader and a 2nd grader. And maybe my incoming freshman can handle it, but I know, you know, for the little ones, it was hard to determine where do I go for what class. And it was confusing for some folks and for some students. So this Canvas will really allow us an opportunity for students and parents to go to one place and see all 6 classes and be able to click on it and go. Again, it does help with accessibility, teacher collaboration, student assessment. It also allows our teachers and staff to monitor progress of students and how much time, using some analytic features and things like that. So we're really excited about Canvas, and I think it's a game changer really in terms of how we communicate with our students in a central focused way. So we don't have to worry about what I'm using for my period 1 is different than any of my other classes. Professional learning, did touch on this a little bit before. Again, professional learning will be a focus really of Canvas. It's a big thing for us. Obviously, the live virtual instruction and engagement, social emotional learning, and then addressing student learning loss. Those are really the 4 big areas of our professional learning that will continue to be a focus all year long as we're going through this. They're currently engaged in ongoing professional learning, started August 3rd going through the 14th. We also have professional learning days, full days on August 17th and October 12th. So again, really it is a major focus for us to ensure that our teachers and staff are trained to give your children and your families the best learning experience possible in this new platform, Canvas, as well as really understanding this idea of learning loss and how we can support our students, because that's one of the biggest things that I think people are concerned about is moving to this virtual way. Is my student going to fall behind? Are they not going to be ready as we move forward? So really, that's an important part, while also picking up any loss that occurred last spring. Family professional learning, yes, families, we have opportunities for you too. We will be providing families with ongoing webinars on pertinent topics to support your child's learning. We do realize that this is a team approach, and this is really important for all of us to be doing this together. We will be giving you opportunities to get trained up on Canvas, so that's social emotional learning and some structuring stuff. That's TK to 5 in terms of that remote success as well. Grades, students will receive traditional grades. We talked about that. And last spring's do no harm or no pass practices were only for that emergency closure. So those will no longer be in place. Attendance, we talked about this. It will be taken each day. Again, as parents, you will need to call the school if your child's absent. And if we have attendance issues, we'll go through the same measures we typically do in a school year, which is our school attendance review team, as well as our school attendance review board as normal on that. For our ELD program, for students who are English learners, both designated and integrated English language development instruction and support will be provided like normal. So we're going back to those and really enhancing those. Designated and integrated ELD services will happen each day in whole group, small group, in some of those as well, and through those reinforcement activities. Special education, again, we talked about this a little bit already, but services will continue to be offered during remote learning for students who receive specialized academic instruction services through the Learning Center, and that's more of an elementary model, so that really doesn't apply to us. Students with an IEP will receive instruction and related services via live virtual instruction with your special education teacher, provider, and case manager as well. Related services will be provided before or after the direct instructional block, depending on the cohort that your child is enrolled in. So we'll be working with you and your family and students on that, as well as their case manager. And then our paraeducators, we do realize, will be a vital part of this as well. So we will be utilizing our paraeducators to help provide this support either individually or through small groups, again, to help support not only our teachers, but also our students. Social emotional learning. So in terms of a high school lens on this, because each grade level and each group of grades there, whether it be elementary, middle, or high school, social emotional learning will look a little bit different. For the high school, the virtual learning will allow some classroom breakout groups where teachers can help with some of those small groups, the small group meetings, individual appointments with our counselors, as well as our teachers, our teacher-counselor collaboration. Our counselors will also be providing some group support and different things as well for our students. Our academic support centers, those have been a great help for our students each day on our campus. And so we'll be working with our academic support instructors on how that will look and have those opportunities still available for our students during that lunchtime, just like they were before. And then obviously continuing those connections with students through clubs. Again, I cannot emphasize enough that trying to connect our students back to our school, whether it be remotely, virtually, or when we're able to transition to blended, will be of utmost importance moving forward. So really making sure that students stay engaged in that manner. So let's talk about materials pickup. So obviously, in order to make all this happen, students do need to have their materials. So we're excited and have, I think, a really good plan in place for this check-in process that'll take place. I'll talk about the schedule and days in a second. But one of the things, because of our health and safety guidelines, we can only have the students coming on campus. We cannot have parents coming on campus to help their children. It'll add too many people. And again, we only need to have students. What will happen is you'll drop off your student at the bridge. The student will walk across the bridge. They will be screened. We'll do health screening for our students. Then inside of our cafeteria, we will have 2 picture stations. So students will stay outside socially distanced with their masks. By the way, whenever they're on campus, they must be wearing their masks. They will go inside one at a time to each station. They will take their picture. They can take their mask off for their picture, and they will get their ID card. Then they'll exit the back door of the student cafeteria. They will go to the library where the star is. We have been pre-bagging books. So the books are already pre-bagged. Logix Federal Credit Union gave us bags, so we can make that process really quick, and they can just grab a bag and go. That is their bag. And then all students will get picked up from the upper parking lot. So some families might be saying, well, why can't I just wait for my kid? The problem is on Lakeview Canyon, the traffic and the backup in the parking is not good. So we really, families will need to drop off at the bridge. Then they'll go back to Lakeview Canyon over to Via Merida where the student parking lot is. And then there's a ton of parking spots. So you can park there and then wait for your child to come up there at that point. For our students that drive themselves, such as juniors or seniors, they will park either on Lakeview Canyon or in the lot. They will come across the bridge, do the same process. However, instead of going up to the student parking lot, they will exit by going down the service road and exiting by the tennis court gate, and then going to their car at that point and leaving. So again, similar, but on those fronts there. Now, when you look at schedules, so this is really important for us. So most years we have schedules that are much more general, where we say during this hour, just show up. If we do that right now, then the number of people that will be showing up will make it very difficult to ensure that our health and safety protocols are able to be followed. So we do want students to arrive during their time frame. Seniors are on Monday, August 10th. Juniors are on Tuesday, August 11th. You can see it broken up by last name. This has been emailed out twice. It is also on our school website. So you can go there to see this exact information. Again, it's half-an-hour periods. This ensures that we have approximately 30 students on campus during that half-an-hour time, so that we can keep them socially distanced, we can screen and have them go through in an orderly and quick fashion. So please follow these times. And again, seniors have to come on the 10th, juniors have to come on the 11th during that time. Sophomores and freshmen, you can see the information there. Sophomores are Wednesday, August 12th, freshmen Thursday, August 13th. Again, this information is on our website as well. Heather, are there any questions about that check-in process? Okay. So technology, so in the spring, we were able to distribute a lot of devices and Chromebooks to those families or students that needed them, and then they were able to keep them over the summer unless they were seniors. So I think we have a lot of our Chromebooks and things out. We have had families request some new ones or new devices that they realize they need now. So those will be distributed. We will be distributing those on Friday, August 14th. We'll use that same drive-through approach that we used in the spring. Really worked out well. And families will need to submit a request. So right now, we've already had families that have submitted that request. They will receive individual communication with additional information about that pickup. After this initial distribution, if you find that you need one, Technology Services will be conducting smaller distributions at our district operations center through that as well. So if you're in need of something, please complete the Chromebook request form or call the help desk line. So if you go to our school website, you will see a link for that form as well. And then we can help you get one. So again, if you realize you need a Chromebook or technology, please take time to fill out that request so that we can have one ready for you. Back to school night. So at this time, planned to be virtually, to offer for families an opportunity to learn more about your child's school program, teachers, classes, and things like that. We're still working out the details on what that will look like, and we will communicate with you at that time what that back to school night will look like. So it's a lot of information. I talked a lot. I apologize for that. And I think that was close to 50 minutes or so. So hopefully this provided a lot of information for you guys. I think, again, when you're looking at this school year and you're looking at what's about to come, I truly believe that having, a positive mindset that this is going to work and that it's going to work out well for our students and families is really, really important. It will take all of us, like we say all the time, is that we are one tribe. We are in this together and we're all moving towards a positive goal for all of our students and families. And I really believe that it'll work. There has been a lot of work and a lot of process that has gone into where we are today. A lot of communication, and I really am very proud of the amount of communication, support, ideas that have come from our families and our community, because your lens and how you view these things and the questions that you have really allow us to look through all these different lenses to give the best possible solution for what education is moving forward. And I can tell you again, the health and safety guidelines have to be number one for us, and they always will be. We always even say when students are on campus, the number one thing is their safety. And that's no different now. It's no different now. So we are excited about it and what it's going to be, and we will process through this, and there's going to be some bumps and there's going to be some of those things, but I guarantee you we will work hard and get those things ironed out and figured out to ensure that it's the best possible education for our students. So I really do appreciate you guys being here tonight and being part of this. At this time, I'm going to ask Heather to just let me know of any big concept ideas or questions that have floated up in our Q&A. And if I don't answer your question specifically, again, we are going to take these questions, synthesize them down into a little FAQ that we will send out when we send out the recording of this as well.
Some of the questions I've seen is like, when will the cohort information become available and how will that be communicated out?
So cohort information should come out rather quickly. And when I say rather quickly, I would say no later than early next week is kind of our plan to get that information out, obviously as soon as possible, because we realize that that is something big that as families you would want. And through that communication, when we communicate out about the cohorts, we will communicate it out through school site to give you that information.
Yeah. A lot of the other questions are just sort of particular to particular scenarios. So there's still a lot to answer. So we'll just have to get to that and send those out.
Okay. And again, our counselors are doing a great job. And we realize that, again, the connections with our students and families are really important. And so, our counselors have been reaching out personally to families via Zoom and via telephone to really, again, create that personal connection and really help answer some of those specific questions in terms of your student schedule, requests, and different things like that. And then the social emotional part of things as well. Again, we really appreciate all that communication and those things that are coming. All right, anything else big there, Mrs. Godfrey, that you think we need to go over?
Like I said, there's a lot in the chat, so I think it's just something we're going to have to kind of go through after. Okay,
and one thing too that I meant to talk about before that I know there's been concern about is about our AP classes and some of those types of things as well. I just forgot to address it. I apologize. I can tell you that when we looked at schedules, when we looked at options, we were really looking at all of our students, and that's everywhere from our advanced placement students through our CP students, through our socioeconomically disadvantaged students, our special education students, our English learners, and all students, and trying to create the best schedule possible. We do realize that with this schedule, some folks have expressed concern that if I'm in periods 4, 5, and 6, and we're in the same model second semester, how do they prepare for the AP tests and those types of things? And we have been discussing and working with our department chairs about the different supports that will need to be put in place to help ensure that that information goes. And I can tell you that our teachers, our AP teachers in particular for this question, realize how important that is to make sure that students are fully prepared to take that exam and be successful at that exam. So that will be one of the things that they are incorporating throughout the whole semester whenever your student happens to be in that course. So we do realize that has been a big point and a big question on that front as well. But again, this schedule for all of our students, I think works really well. And there's some things that each group will work with and will make successful in the end. So again, I want to thank you guys, everybody, for joining us and being a part of this evening. It was different because most Zoom meetings, I can see people's faces and talk back and forth. And this one, it was just me talking. But I hope you got some good information. Again, we will be sending this out. So if you have any friends or people that were unable to listen or be a part of this, again, we will send that out through communications, through video, as well as with an FAQ. Okay. So thank you guys so much. Hope you have a great evening. And thank you for joining us here late. Bye-bye.